as per the Rebbe's guidance, this is the time when we should be learning the laws, the history, facts about the Beit HaMikdash based on God's statement to the Navi. Is it because my Beit HaMikdash is lying in ruins, you should not be studying it? So let's study a little bit of history about the three Beit HaMikdash. Meaning three starts with the pasuk that it says, "V'asa leMikdash v'shachanti b'soicham." In Shemois, God says, "Build for me a temple, a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them." That's when Moshe Rabbeinu undertook the construction of the Mishkan in the desert. And for the 40 years the people wandered in the desert, they had this Mishkan, the temple. Fact is that this Mishkan lasted much longer than just those 40 years. It lasted for a total of approximately 480 years. 40 years in the desert, 14 years in Gilgal, 369 years in Shiloh, and then in Nov and Givon another 57 years. Shlomo Melech, in the year 2935 of creation, corresponding to 827 years before the Common Era, he built the first Beis HaMikdash. The merit for the building of the Beis HaMikdash was David HaMelech, but since David HaMelech was a warrior, God said that he cannot build it, and his son Shlomo will build it. But he couldn't open the gates until he invoked the memory of his father David. The first temple, unfortunately, lasted for only 410 years, and then it was destroyed with the Jewish people going into exile, Galus Bavel. And then approximately 70 years later, the second Beis HaMikdash was rebuilt, while most of the Jewish community was still in exile, still in Bavel. And in fact, they were very poor, and the original Beis HaMikdash was built in a relatively poor design, poor structure, in terms of poverty, not with the wealth that it had in the first Beis HaMikdash. But then came the king Hordus Herod. Who was Herod? Interesting that about 80 years before the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash, which was in the year 3829, 69 years of the Common Era by the Romans, Herod, who was installed by the Roman Emperor to be the leader, to be the ruler over the Jewish people, over Judah, Yehuda, who was a brutal, a vicious murderer. He killed out all the Hashmonaim. He killed even his own wife, who wasn't even Jewish. And he killed all the Chachamim of this time. But he spared Baba ben Buta. But he did blind him. And there's an interesting story in the Gemara Baba Basra that says that one day, Herod came to Baba ben Buta, not revealing who he is, that it's him, knowing that he's blind, he wouldn't recognize him. And he tried to entice him to curse Herod, saying, "Look what this slave is doing. You should curse him." The Torah says, don't curse the king. He's not a king. Don't curse anyone. And as many excuses he was looking for to have Baba ben Buta to curse him, Baba ben Buta refused to curse him, and every time quoted another verse where it says that no one should be cursed. When Herod heard that, he started regretting his actions. And said, if I would have known that the rabbis are so discreet, so holy, so pious, I would not have killed them. And that's when he revealed himself to Baba ben Buta, who he is. And then he said, tell me, what can I do to correct? What can I do to fix my error in having killed all the rabbis, all the Chachamim? And Baba ben Buta told him, you extinguish the light of the Jewish people. You extinguish the teachers of the Jewish people, which is the light of Judaism. What you need to do is to rebuild the light, referring to the Beis Hamikdash. You rebuild the temple is what you must do. So then he said, but I'm afraid from the Roman. He says, do what you have to. And indeed, he launched then a massive reconstruction campaign that they built the most magnificent Beis Hamikdash. The point that the Gemara says, whoever didn't see the Beis Hamikdash didn't see a magnificent building. Gemara relates there was different colors of marble that's the reflection of the sun. It looked like waves of the ocean. Unfortunately, it was eventually destroyed by the Romans. So in total, we had 1500 years between the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. Ribono Shel Olam, it's time to have the third Beis Hamikdash. Please give it today.